Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing, we laugh, we cry.
Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Rochester. I'm Reverend Shari. I'm one of the ministers here, and leading worship with me today, we've got Adriana and Pablo and Aaron and our AV deck and all of you. And I say that nearly every Sunday, but today I really mean it because we have a very special Sunday. It is a question Sunday. In part, this is how we like to start off the year. We know that sometimes folks will bring people visiting from out of town who know nothing about Unitarian Universalism. So it's a great time to get your questions answered. And there are those of you who have been here for decades who claim to know nothing about Unitarian Universalism. So it's a great time to get your questions answered. You know, as Unitarian Universalists, we believe, well, there was that last line of that hymn, sometimes to question truly is an answer. And we don't tend to provide a ton of answers around here. We do a lot more asking of questions, but I'm going to do my best today to answer some of your questions. In the fall, we did a fundraiser where a lot of you asked wonderful questions, and I didn't get to answer all of them. So I'm going to do something that I discovered in the first service was actually kind of a bad idea, which is get more questions from you and do my best to answer them. Here at First Unitarian, we are a people with a purpose. Our mission is through spiritual connection in community. We listen deeply to others and ourselves. We open to wonder and transformation, and we serve together with love and humility. And speaking of that collective action and love and humility, I just want to say that I appreciate for those of you in the room who are wearing a mask today because flu is way up. And I know there are some of you in this room who had the flu earlier this season and told me it was truly dreadful. And our hospitals are at capacity. Our hospital systems are asking people to mask, so I really appreciate it. And possibly you appreciate it because it makes you a little bit warmer. It's a little cold in the building today. We know, we're working on it. We've got our HVAC people out here already, and also we're launching a capital campaign to fix it all. So thank you for your part in all of that. I really appreciate it. If you're new or newish, I invite you to stop by our welcome desk, help you get connected. If you're new or newish, or even if you've been coming here for decades, I invite you to come at 10:30 to participate in Connections, our small group opportunities before the service that happens between our two services. Here at First Unitarian, we know that our collective gathering is a spiritual practice, one worth coming to. But also in a room like this, it's hard to get to know everyone. And so we gather in smaller groups and form connections. If you came to church today because you are worried about yourself or someone else, I invite you to connect with our pastoral care team to let us know throughout the week if you're struggling or if you want to talk to someone today. That's a possibility also. But we'll invite you to ask questions during this service. We'll invite you to sing with us. We'll invite you to participate in lots of different ways. And your only real job, you've already done. You're here. Your presence matters, and I'm grateful that you are part of what we do together. So go ahead and take a breath and settle in. And I'll invite you, but not require, you to join in unison words while Ruthie helps me light the chalice here. So, life is a gift for which we are grateful. Gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries. Rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing our next hymn.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the bar, our sacrifice will kindle on flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit of heart and mind, seeds of a sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience alive, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit moving in awe, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life
Good morning, everyone. My name's Adriana, and I grew up in a family of Chester Catholics, which means we went to Mass on Christmas, Easter, and Palm Sunday. We were usually late and had to cling to the back wall in a small crowd, but I still loved being there to witness the ritual with bells and chanting and incense and call and response, and of course the oddly comforting feeling of being in the palm of my Creator's hand. When I got to high school, I felt like I needed this even more so. I joined church choir and started attending Bible studies and youth group, but by the time I graduated, my belief was already actually starting to unravel, and my questions were starting to collect, in spite of how badly I just wanted to accept Scripture as truth. I couldn't help but wonder why God was so harsh when Christ spoke so much about forgiveness. And my best friend was Baptist, but she wasn't allowed to take communion with me. Why? Weren't we all the same? And why would God create so many humans, but only want some of them to get into heaven? I mean, why give us free will at all if he's just going to push most of us away? Our priest was thankfully patient with me when I started to bring these topics up, but the bishop was not, really. And this unsettling feeling kept growing. When I started reading about other religions in college, I found more and more reasons to doubt until Scripture eventually stopped making sense altogether. And isn't this why we come to church? Because here we are encouraged to ask the big questions, and when we can't find answers, we have a safe place to sit with our uncertainty.
I'd like to invite our children forward to join me here on this rug. And while they are doing so, I'd like to invite adults, if you've got a question you'd like to ask later, go ahead and start writing that on your paper. You've got a little bit of time, but go ahead. Come on up all. As you're coming up, I'm gonna need some volunteers. You have to be willing to eat a lollipop. That's basically it. So. I want to eat a lollipop. That's exactly the kind of verbal affirmation I'm looking for here. There you go. There you go. There you are. Would you bring that bag of lollipops? You might have thought I could have predicted that who would like to eat a lollipop was, there you go. Oops, sorry about that. There you are. Who doesn't have a lollipop? All right. Well, there we go. There you are. Yes? Oh, you have half a lollipop. That seems disturbing. Yes, you may have another one. We'll just put that one in my pocket. There you are. Everyone get one? You all can have one afterwards, after the service. Okay. Oh, you did get one. Yours is broken. Oh, goodness. Okay. So some of you, especially at the beginning there, you got mystery lollipops, right? They don't tell you what the flavor is. While you're thinking about it, because I want to know what you think the flavor is of the mystery lollipop. You know already?
Yeah.
All right, well, I see some hands up, so let's see. What flavor do you have? Okay, a mix between strawberry and root beer. How about you?
I think I have birthday cake.
You think you have birthday cake, a mix between sprinkles and eggs. Cool. How about you? Lemon and lime. How about you?
Watermelon.
Watermelon. Eric, you had one.
I think it's like Swedish lemon.
A Swedish lemon. A very refined palate, my friend. How about you?
I definitely have lime.
Definitely lime.
Watermelon.
Watermelon.
I think it's some kind of fruit that's either a pineapple or a mango.
Either pineapple or mango. You have a flavor and you don't even have a lollipop? Oh! Magic abound. What do you have? Lemon, lime, or green apple. The mystery is getting pretty weird here. It's not just that there are all different flavors, and I appreciate you all. We're not gonna have time for every single flavor, but thank you for being willing to share, and thank you for being willing to eat a lollipop for this. So, does anyone know how we get mystery flavor lollipops? Oh, we got an answer right there in the middle. Is it cheating if you actually know? No. Regardless of what you hear in the news about experts and truth, that does matter. It is okay to actually know.
I read that it's like when they're switching between flavors and the equipment is kind of like overlapped, they just turn those ones into mystery.
Yeah, so like a good quarter of the bag are mystery flavor lollipops. And the way we get mystery flavor, the reason all those mysteries are not the same is because instead of cleaning the machine when you're done with one flavor and going then with another flavor, we've just mixed the flavors together and called it a mystery. Right? It was, I think, the manager of AC/DC who said, God is what we call the blanket that we throw over the mystery. That's essentially the flavor of these lollipops, right? The mystery happens when there's some truth, something that happens that's neither here nor there, neither strawberry nor Swedish lemon. Swedish lemon? Yeah. The mystery is delicious. So adults, you're all working on your questions, but we knew kids, you wouldn't have time because you tend to leave us about a third of the way through the service, and then we all sit here missing you. So we asked you for some questions in advance, and so I have 3 questions from kids that I thought I'd answer today. The first one is, what's my favorite movie? And I'm a little bit of a mystery lollipop. I have 2 favorite movies. The first one is Groundhog Day. You also love that? Amazing. It is philosophically rich. It is essentially about a restorationist universalism. That is to say, when you're kind of a bad person, but you just keep trying and working it out. Like, that is our universalist ancestry's vision of what the afterlife is like. That's one of my favorite movies. The other one is Pitch Perfect, which is the only movie I have finished watching the first time and then immediately went back to watch again. It is, as far as I'm convinced, a perfect film. I really love singing, though I am terrible at it. The second question you had was, what's my favorite K-pop Demon Hunters song? And there are so many good ones. Pablo played Golden about a month ago, so obviously that's my favorite, but Pablo version. And then watching a bunch of people sing along, mostly the under 40 set. But I actually think my favorite song is This Is What It Sounds Like, which is about a group taking responsibility and not figuring out at first, but trying to make it work. And if you do not know this soundtrack, you should know that it is the most popular media that exists right now outside of Bad Bunny. And it's a truly heartwarming tale. I highly recommend it. And the third question you had was, what is the meaning of life? And I'm really sorry, we're out of time. You all need to get to your classes. But that seems actually not fair. So I will do my best, but no, it's a very short answer, and I have every expectation that I will change my mind about this tomorrow, and my answer will continue to grow. So for me, the meaning of life is twofold. It is both to savor the world and to save it. The meaning of the world and life, my role in it, is to witness the beauty, to put myself always in the path of beauty. The world is a beautiful and magical place, and it is my job to notice that as often as possible. I'm the one who's planting the tree. Heck yeah. Well, I'm the one who's both eating the fruit of the trees that others have planted, including birds that just drop seeds. Right? I'm the one who's eating the fruit, and I'm the one who's planting the tree for generations to come. So the other part, the save the world, that part of the meaning of life is to help share the beauty of the world with other people, to make the world a little bit easier, a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more just. I think the meaning of life lies somewhere in the balance between those two things. So thank you to all my mystery lollipop eaters. Thank you to all my question askers. I'm going to invite you to rise, and then, in this case, especially important because you're eating lollipops, slowly make your way to your classes. May the mystery continue to unfold in your heart. Thank you all.
Journey through from sheltering arms to the wide sky blue, in your joyful jumps and your sad times too, you bless us by being you.
We'll bring the lollipops out at the end for everybody. Don't you worry. For now, I invite you to settle into your seat, to join me in the spirit of prayer, meditation, and shared silence. Feel the earth hugging you to her. I offer a reading today from our Unitarian Universalist Association for a day like now, when so many of us are asking why, or maybe what's next, what now. Crocus, January 3rd. There is something simple which power forgets, and clouds of smoke and the roar of rotor blades cannot conceal. There are people there, wherever there is, on the front lines of every empire's effort to manifest dominion, just people. Running on the sidewalk, panicked at the borders, cans of food and children's toys rattling even now in the trunk of a car that for today still starts. People there, in doorways and on freeways, praying for a peace, a place beyond the bombs, without ever knowing the plans of men with pens that write orders, and suits worth more than this month's rent, and declarations that burst forth in fire when the children should be sleeping. Just people there. On this day, we pray strength unto them all, upon us all, to meet this time with courage and grief and remembering and reminding that in this place where they are, among them, there is only all of us. Amen, and blessed be. We pray with our words, with our feet, with our gathering and our breath. And we enter now into ritual to bring what is on our hearts and to lay it on the altar of community and spirit. We honor the complexities of life, coming forward to light candles, writing in the chat, or simply sitting in witness to our wider community. Bring to mind now whatever grief or growth or gratitude is alive within you. Hold it in your heart. And online, I invite you to share in the chat. Here in the sanctuary, I invite you forward to light a candle, or if you'd prefer an electric candle, there's a basket in the back. If you'd like an usher to bring one to you, please raise your hand. And I invite you to bring your questions forward and lay them on the table, on the altar itself. May we now share in this ritual of community care. May we witness to one another's hearts and one another's wonderings. You may now come forward. We hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. Be held in our love, and be held by the love that goes beyond us all, between us all, and holds us always. Amen.
Our musical meditation today is Open My Heart by Ana Hernandez. Open my heart,
All that our church is and all that our church does is made possible by the time, talents, and treasure that we give to our shared mission. Members and friends support this congregation financially through recurring giving, and on Sundays, we also give through our shared collection. As part of the spiritual practice of generosity, 50 cents of every dollar given now to our offering will go to the Rochester Area Community Foundation, a nonprofit organization that works to improve the quality of life in the greater Rochester, New York area by connecting donors with community needs, promoting philanthropy, and leading initiatives for positive change. Using Church Center is the easiest way to give, but if you aren't set up with the app yet, you can also give by texting GIVE and the amount you would like to give to the number on the screen or in the offering baskets that will now be passed. In the spirit of abundance and generosity, the offering will now be given and humbly received.
Go to sort the questions, I got to sit right next to Pablo, which was a real joy. But it did make sorting the questions a lot harder because there are like 40 amazing questions here. So I apologize to everyone in advance. I'm definitely not going to be able to answer every single one today. In fact, I will not be able to answer the vast majority of them. But there are some groups of questions, things that come up that a few people ask, and then in some cases, just some really juicy ones that I'm going to try to get to, and I'll try to get to as many as I can, but probably like 5 of them. We'll see. So this person's floated to the top because not only did they ask a question, they drew photos, or I assume a photorealistic drawing of a happy face with tears and a sad face with tears. Why do you think I always seem to tear up at services? It can be for happy or sad reasons. All right, so I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes for a moment if you feel comfortable with that. How many of you have cried at church? Nearly all of you. You can open your eyes, and on a purely voluntary basis, how many of you have cried at church when you resolved not to this Sunday? Yeah, that happens for sure. That was a big part of my early days as a Unitarian Universalist as well. So my theory for this, and I think there are lots of different reasons, but my theory is that there's lots that's going on in our lives. Happy things, sad things, collectively and personally. And this is true for the vast majority of us, most of the time. With our youth group and our children, we'll often do something called rosebud thorn, right? Ask people to describe the best part of their last week, the rose. The thorn is the worst part of their week, and the bud is something they're looking forward to. Incredibly straightforward. Also, incredibly noteworthy that when we ask adults to do this, in a group where this is a new practice, people often struggle to answer it. I don't know what I did this week. I was really busy. I went from thing to thing to thing, but I couldn't really tell you. It was all fine, or it was mid, which, sure, we all have those weeks, but even in a week that's completely ordinary, there's a high point and a low point. Life has ups and downs, but so much of the productivity and busyness of our schedules, so much of our way of living conspires against us feeling those ups and downs, conspires against us feeling anything at all. We're either blunted with numbness from the headlines of one horrible thing happening again and again and again, or the shininess of modern consumerism, right? So most of us don't spend enough time, and I say this not as a critique, but as a description of many of our lives, don't spend enough time with our interior life, don't spend enough time with any gap in between our kid wanting another meal all the time. And, this deadline at work. So when you come to church and you sit down, it's nothing I don't mean to lump Pablo in with this, but I often think it's nothing that I say or that Pablo does, though sometimes that helps. Sometimes it's literally just sitting down and being still for an hour, that's what's gonna get you. I don't say that to convince you not to come to church. Tearing up, finding that valve that helps relieve some of that pressure that just allows you to connect with something sad or happy is an incredibly powerful and important thing. And if church can be that for you, and that's all church is, I hope we do more than that, but if that's all church is, I think that's a pretty powerful thing. At our bridging service, in which our high school seniors bridge into young adulthood, and for some of them that means leaving town. They're in the military, or they're in college, or they're moving to a new city. For some of them, that means going somewhere where there's going to be a Unitarian Universalist congregation that's not this one, right? And they're going to like some things about it, but mostly they're going to not like that it's not like the church they grow up in. What I say to our young people when they're first leaving town is, find the closest UU church to you. And even if you never go, I want you to know how to get there, because there will come a day where you just need to cry. Go there. That's a place for you. Hopefully it will become a place that's more than that for you. But if that's what First Unitarian is for you right now, I think we are doing our jobs, and I think you are also. Keep coming. There will be a service one week where you do not tear up, and that will be maybe disappointing, honestly. Will group prayer help keep the church boilers running this winter? I don't know, but what do we have to lose? We should probably start. So, also, Pope Francis used to say that you pray to feed the hungry, and then you get up off your knees and you go feed the hungry. That's how prayer works. I think that's what we're doing with our capital campaign. So yes, both the silent and prayer of words and the working to ensure that our church continues to be a warm, literally, and welcoming place for the future is what we are doing. What can I say to someone in my life, either my very elderly Baptist Lutheran mother-in-law to convince her that Unitarianism is not some sort of cult, or my friends who aren't churchy at all, who would get a lot from our community, would value the inquiry, the open-mindedness, the acceptance, but think poorly of churches in general. So 2 different spectrums of how people are suspicious of us, but basically, how can I tell them a little bit about this place and help them understand why I value it, share this place with them? So my first answer is not going to be a very satisfying one, but I do think it's important, which is so often we are afraid of conflict that we say nothing at all rather than risk saying something. Probably your elderly Baptist Lutheran mother-in-law will have some negative things to say about this. Probably your friends, your loved ones, do think poorly of churches in general. But if you share about a place you love and share why you love it, they might find something to connect to. There may be a possibility, a cracking open there that's more about the connection they have with you than you trying to convince them of something. And whatever fears you have about how they react may be founded, but they also might not be. More often than not, we are quieter and more fearful than we strictly need to be. I did get a little fearful I would sneeze on you as you're all masking, so my first answer there would be to try something, right? To start small, to share why it matters to you, to find something to invite them to. And for these 2 populations, those are going to be different things. For your elderly Baptist Lutheran mother-in-law, well, our Christmas Eve services look like Christmas Eve services. Granted, I am preaching a sermon that the birth of Jesus heralds God's desire for the end to empire, which not every Christian's gonna love, but it feels churchy. Sunday mornings generally feel churchy, though they may find, as my evangelical cousin did when he handed me a note card during the very first time I brought him to a UU service, that had a question on it, a lot like these. I was not preaching, I was sitting in the pew with him, and he sent me a little card that said, "What about Jesus?" But it wasn't Easter or Christmas, so there was no Jesus that Sunday. But some taste that will feel familiar. Similarly, there are things that happen in this congregation outside of Sunday mornings. If someone's afraid of Sunday morning because of religious trauma in their life or something similar, bring them to a potluck. Help them understand what it is that you appreciate about it. Gentle invitations. And also the sure knowledge that when we share something with someone else, we're doing it not to convince them, not to convince the mother-in-law or the friends, but simply to share and know that after you've done so, you can disagree. I'd also just very quickly recommend the formula I gave you maybe a couple months ago around how to have difficult conversations, which is to lead with, I have something I want to share with you. I'm afraid you'll judge me. You'll think my church is a cult. You'll think I'm being evangelical. But I'm hoping to share it with you because you might understand why it's important to me. Or I'm hoping to tell you a little about it just because I think there might be some people you like there. Does that make you sound not like you're in a cult? No. But it does work. And then share with them something you love about this place. Okay. So this one is a shift. I crave absolution or confession for a moral injury. I am so sorry. What does Unitarian Universalism offer me? It's a good question. It's a hard one. And moral injury, I don't know what it means to whoever wrote this, but I understand that to mean that something has happened in your life where you have been forced to violate your own principles. We use moral injury often when talking about soldiers. We use it about people who have worked in the medical care system through the pandemic. We use it to talk about people who find themselves a part of a system where who they thought they were and what they did do not square. It's a fundamental threat to identity because it makes you question who you are and if you can follow what matters to you. It is one of the most damaging things that can happen to someone, and the impact of it can be lifelong, but it is incredibly common also. Moral injury applies to wider swaths of people than I have just described. It is something that appears again and again, and I don't mean to say that it's light or easy to hold, but that you're not alone in it. Brian Stevenson, the lawyer, talks about in his work around helping those convicted wrongly or otherwise of murder get free. That none of us are the worst thing that any of us have ever done. And I think that is absolutely true. I think our universalism leads us to an understanding of people that says that we are basically good, but our commitment to data and science and human experience requires us to take seriously evil, both out in the world, systemically and societally, and also in our own lives, that harm and violence are real, and that we have to be able to hold both of these together. Right? We have to be able to hold both the truth that horrible things happen and sometimes we cause them, that we cause harm, and that our identities and our goodness are not so fragile that we have to be good all the time, and that the worst thing that we've ever done is not the end of our story. Unitarian Universalism doesn't have a tradition of confession in the way that the Catholic Church does. And I have people who come to me every week to tell me about a thing that they are not proud of, that they carry a lot of shame around, and we talk about it. And we talk about how they're making sense of that, what they're doing about it, if accountability or repair is possible. And I'm happy to say that most of the time it is, and sad to say that sometimes it's not in the ways that we crave or want. But that sharing with me or with others helps lift the burden, that it helps the story continue. That, I joked earlier that we only talk about Jesus on Easter or Christmas, and that's not really true, but it is true that we talk about Jesus on Easter, right? And I think a lot about what resurrection means as a Unitarian Universalist, right? What does it mean to remember this day that's about death and then something that happens after that's a miracle that, quite frankly, most of us in this room don't believe, right? We don't believe that you snap your fingers and things get better automatically. But we do believe that the bad thing isn't the only thing, and that stories can have multiple endings, that we can seek repair. Unitarian Universalism, I think, offers an honest wrestling with moral injury. There's no right or snapping of the fingers or magic moment where forgiveness and atonement are possible. But through wrestling, absolution, reintegration is possible. I'll just take a quick aside in the cheerful, lightning side topic of white supremacy here. To say that, I think a similar thing happens here with whiteness around identity threats, right? That, and this happens with other biases also, right? It happens with patriarchy, it happens with homophobia, but I think whiteness in particular in the US holds this really hard, that like the the desire to be a good person makes grappling with the challenges of white supremacy incredibly difficult. And if we can all loosen our hold on not our desire to be good, not on our desire to serve the world with love and humility, not on our desire to do well and better, but to know that we are, against all evidence, always a good person, we do a lot in terms of our work around anti-racism. So, okay. So, a shift in topic, though we're going to start with sort of this low place that we're in now, because sometimes outside, basically anytime you read the news, it feels like a low place. It doesn't feel right now like we are burning, well, it does feel like we are burning, but it doesn't feel like we are building heaven on earth right now in the US. Well, that's more of a comment, not a question. Classic Unitarian Universalist, but here's the question. How do we stay joyful or hopeful in these times? It's a great question, and a question that the first service had a lot of. So I think it's threefold. One is what you're all doing now. I think being in a congregation, a community that continues to sing, continues to practice hope and resistance, to tell stories of change and victory and possibility and a cracking open when things are hard. That matters more than ever. This collective spiritual practice of church matters very deeply right now. But, and it pains me to say this, given what I do for a living, I don't think church is enough right now. I think a weekly gathering in a room like this is important. And as often as possible to be shoulder to shoulder with other people is important. But I think smaller group gatherings, like what we do in our Soul Matters group, on a monthly basis, you probably need to find a way to do that on a weekly basis, whether it's one person you have coffee with once a week, or as I do, 3 families I have Sunday dinner with every week, knowing that if I don't make it, 2 of the other families will make it. And that, more or less, we do it 3 out of 4 weeks in a month. We know what's going on in each other's lives. We have a place to both share a little bit about the places where we're finding despair and places where we're finding courage and hope and resilience. We don't spend that whole hour or 2 hours together talking about all the bad things in the world. We check in with each other and know what's actually going on in each other's lives. And we share ways to be active, share ways to find hope, and share ways to move the needle, to be a part of the resistance. So that's the third piece. The third piece is to find your role in this world, in this moment. And it may shift over time, but to find ways to move the needle towards hope and justice. For some, that's larger scale national things, writing, our This Is What Democracy Looks Like group. Helps folks connect with ways to be active. Our social justice ministries connect people with ways to build a more just and beautiful world. Other ways of being more courageous and more loving will help you understand that you make a difference, that what you're doing matters. Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning talked about what kept him alive in the concentration camp, was finding something he did that would matter if he didn't do it, where others would notice. And each of us, it's up to us in this moment, when the stakes are high, though perhaps less high than they were for him in that moment, to find something like that. And it will change over time. For some, it's going to be small right now, because that's what you have the capacity for. It might be showing up to a protest occasionally, or making a phone call occasionally. For others, moments like this crack open our hearts and possibilities in massive paradigm-shifting ways. So I talked to a family recently who found out that the Trump administration has removed all protections for LGBTQ youth in foster care, which means, and I don't say this lightly because I recognize how traumatizing this may be for some folks in the room, but that there are families that can seek to foster children with the explicit intent to put them into conversion therapy, right? So this family, upon hearing this, they'd been thinking about it for a while, sort of vaguely, but they've started to ready their home now for opening their home to a foster child, right? So find some way to move the needle. It can be small, it can be big, and change your whole family structure. But find something, find a community, keep coming to church. I think those three things matter very deeply. And I'm just going to end us on a nice, easy one. Are there Unitarian Universalist churches all over the world? Yes. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn. As our service comes to an end, I just want to answer the question that I know is on everybody's mind. Do we have to stack the chairs after the service? And the answer is it would be helpful if you did. Arms with arms, no arms with no arms. Help if you can, don't if you don't want to. That's okay. I invite you to extinguish our chalice with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the lighted truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. The headlines, the moment, the stress, and the busyness, they conspire against us, against feeling the hope and the love, against feeling the grief and the despair of what it means to love this world. Do not let it. Keep connecting, keep questioning, keep loving deeply. Go in peace, knowing that you are loved. I love you. Happy New Year. Amen.